Hello.
Hello. So we zoom in.
Such a damn good thing that we bought matching coffee cups months ago.
Perfectly. So we can feel together, even though we are not physically together.
I know.
This experience.
What happens when you see your best friend for the first time in a week?
Oh. Cheers.
You.
Just continuing with CryFest 2020.
Yeah, right? This whole year is CryFest 2020.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. But even though we are being pushed into very strange places that we have never been before, I think it's really appropriate for it to be the beginning of a new decade and for us to be pushed into things that are uncomfortably new and challenging. And I mean, these are things that we've discussed with really taking the time to get to know yourself and know yourself in your craft. And we're kind of forced to now, you know?
Yeah.
So.
No, I saw a meme somewhere. It was something like, now that I'm trying to tell you what it is. Oh, it was a meme where someone was like, manifesting more time to focus on my spirituality in 2019. And then 2020 is like, deal.
I didn't mean like that. No, it's so true though, because it's like, again, about, you know, clear intentions, being clear about, I mean, not that this is in anybody's
This is everybody's fault.
This is all your fault. No, not that this is in anybody's control, but, you know, it's like sometimes, you know, what you think you need does not always turn the way you expect.
Yeah. To be something that you were not prepared for. Well, in today's episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. So obviously, Alyssa and I are staying at home, so we cannot get together and film the next few episodes. But we are going to do something a little different this time around. So for this episode, we wanted to, especially now that everyone is like quarantining, we're all in this really weird place mentally. We wanted to kind of take some time, slow down, and show you what our morning and night routines are in our witchy life. So we obviously filmed both of those separately. So we're gonna play that for you right now.
Good morning. Alyssa here with my morning ritual and practice. So the first thing that I do when I wake up, I come downstairs and I like to start with a glass of water, and I like to actually add a little bit of sea salt to that. This just helps with cleansing of the body. While we rest, a lot of the toxins start working their way through our system. So to help cleanse those out in the morning, a glass of fresh water first thing with a little sea salt to get the body going. Now, while I'm hydrating myself, I also like to feed the hearth. So I have this special purple salt that I like to add into my kitchen cauldron, just a little bit every day to help absorb any stagnant energy that's in the air in the space and moving that energy into productive, positive energy for hearth and home, okay? So I like to just add a little bit of salt to the cauldron, take a little bit of time, and I like to start during this time with thinking about one thing that I'm grateful for my hearth and my home for. While I am enjoying my water, feeding the hearth, I also like to take a moment and just water and feed some of my kitchen plants. So I've got my beautiful curtain. my little pitcher plant and Venus flytraps. Some of my succulents and cacti. I've got a little air plant over here. Hydration for everyone. Now that we're all hydrated, my next step is to coffee or tea. I drink coffee the entire day. I could probably drink coffee 2 minutes before I go to sleep and still be able to sleep. So I've been trying to balance it out with drinking more herbal teas in between. So I've got a cup of coffee that I've already prepped that I'm going to do just a little chamomile tea. And then I also like to keep my herbs, they're just right next door on a shelf that I can add in if I have any particular focus, using things like mugwort if I'm doing some divination that morning, maybe a little lavender for relaxation. So you can add any of those additional things in. All right, so while my tea's brewing, I'm gonna take you all into the bathroom, as I so like to call it. There's my little air plant. All right, so next it's time for a little bit of massage and cleansing. So I'm gonna start by getting rid of this bad boy and tying my hair up. For my massage first thing in the morning, I think that this is really important to support your health and your radiance and your glow. It kind of helps get all of the lymphatic drainage systems working, moving, and just feels great to take a little bit of time in the morning to refresh, rejuvenate. Cleansing my hands first. And then for my massage moment in the morning, I actually like to use this anointing oil that I've created and crafted. My intention and purpose behind crafting this is to work on self-worth. So feeling confident to be able to go about my day, to feel in my power, in my strength, and feeding my purpose on a daily basis. So I created this anointing oil with a blend of herbs and then used an oil base. And this has been brewing with the herbs for actually a couple months now. It's been spending a lot of time out in my garden with my plants because I have a huge focus on my growth with self internal this year. So it spent a lot of time out there, and then after this last new moon, it was ready to come out of the ground. So it has been strained and refined and ready to infuse my daily life. So just taking that minute or two for a little bit of rejuvenation and relaxation in the morning can really help to keep you centered, keep you focused. I think sometimes we hit the ground running in the mornings, and it's go, 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 go time. So taking, again, that moment of just kind of relaxation and appreciation. So next it is time to cleanse, and then I'll follow that up with a little hydration for my skin. So I don't always wear makeup on a daily basis unless I'm working usually. Normally on my days off I like to give my skin time to rest, but even just taking a couple minutes for that massage to add moisture back to the skin still gives you some of that glamour magic, you know, feeling in the morning where you're taking some time to appreciate yourself, a little bit of self-love and attention on oneself. For me, it just makes me go into my day feeling a little bit more ready and more full in who I am and more aware throughout the day of taking care of myself. So my next step this out, brush this out a little bit. Looking like a wild woman this morning. Alright, so up next is going to be my daily makeup ritual, but my tea is nice and ready. So another thing to consider if you're using a loose tea or even tea bags, instead of just throwing all those plants into the garbage, because they have just given us all of their lovely benefits, I like to put mine into the compost. That way I can return them back to the earth and back to my garden. Bubby, say good morning, Beowulf. Hi, sweet man. Good morning. Hi, sweet man. Hi, Buzz-Tag. So up next is my makeup ritual. And again, not only is this to me some daily glamour magic, taking that time to appreciate and recognize oneself, but it's also, I see it as, what is the face that I want to put forward to the world today? So there's a lot of intention setting and starting to think about my focus for the day. What things do I get to accomplish today? What is my mission or my intention for the day? So I'm just taking some time for reflection for that, setting my intentions and spending a little bit of time pampering myself. So after my makeup ritual, or at this point of the day, I have spent some time in reflection thinking about what the day is going to look like for me. What is the intention? What face do I want to put forward? So my next step is my daily dedication and a little conversation with my guides. So I do a little divination every morning, really set my intentions and my focus and receiving any messages that my guides have for me. After I do my divination and my dedication, the last thing I do before leaving the house is finishing with a little bit of anointing oil. We did our massage in that this morning, so just giving myself a little bit more of that reminder to make sure that I'm keeping that focus in my mind. Everything that I'm working on internally with putting my power out there, putting my message out there, feeling confident in my self-worth and who I am and in my development and my path. So I'm going to finish with a little bit of anointing oil, and then it's time for us to say good morning to the garden. So now we're heading out to the garden to say good morning to all of our beautiful plant spirits and babies. Good morning, my pretties. So I just like to take a little bit of time to say good morning, see how everybody is doing, see what kind of new growth we have developed. We had a great big storm here last night, so I collected some storm water to use in some craft work. So we will remember to take that inside. But just checking in, seeing how everyone's doing, having a little conversation with them. Everyone's looking so beautiful this morning. We got quite a bit of rain last night and quite a bit of wind. everyone seems to be looking just fine and happy. I'll also take a little moment of dedication and reflection to some of the spirits that I work with the land and in my practice with support and growth. Spirits and deity. Look at those little guys. Watching out the window. Oh yeah? You went out here? I think it's time for him to get some outside playtime. So that about wraps it up for my morning rituals and morning practice. I can't wait to hear more about all of your practices and what things do you connect with in the morning, what things do you connect with at night. How do you implement your practice into the daily routine of things? Take care, be well.
Good morning. So the first thing that I like to do when I get up in the morning is do a little bit of a yoga flow and a little bit of meditation. I like to do this like literally right as I roll out of bed, just as a way to naturally wake myself up before I have any coffee or anything like that. And then after we do a little bit of yoga flow, a little meditation, we'll take a quick shower and start the day fresh all over again. At this point, Jareth has now said that I'm done for now. So we're gonna take a quick shower, cleanse our face, get some coffee made, and we'll be back with you. Right, Jareth? Do you want to be right back? Now is the part of my morning, which is one of my favorites. So at this point, I put my face back on, kind of take a moment to set my intentions for the day while doing some glamour magic and really taking some time to like take care of myself and be thoughtful about what I want to do for the day and what I want my appearance to be and what I want my actions to be, and really expressing that in my face. I should also say this is me and Helga's special time in the morning. Um, this is when she gets, I don't know, she wants to get very cuddly at this point of the day.
This is like her good morning to me. Move your butt. We're gonna make our first cup of coffee and go check on the plant babies. And at this point of the day, I like to go ahead and check on my garden, see how we fared throughout the night, see how everybody's doing, and just get a general feel for my plants and tell them good morning. Now we're gonna go check on my inside plants, see how they're faring, and finish up my morning. So most of my plants are outside, but in here I do have my Venus flytrap and my pitcher plant. So I just take a moment here. They're all gonna get watered here momentarily, but I like to spend a little moment just talking to her before that, see what she needs, see how she's doing. And then check on my belladonna. She's had aphids really bad, so I like to spend a minute just checking on her, see how everything's going. So typically what I do first thing in the morning before I even get out of bed is do any like dream journaling from the previous night. I didn't have any dreams or anything last night that were worth journaling about. So instead I'm gonna spend some time working on my herbiary, and basically just taking a moment to myself, slow down a little bit before I start my day. The last thing that I like to do before I leave my house is armor myself with my jewelry. So I kind of think of the jewelry that I put on before I leave as my armor throughout the day to help protect me and my energy. Right as I leave the house, I also like to spritz some clearing spray on myself as well as my general surroundings. We're ready to go have a good day. Good morning.
Alyssa here with my nighttime practice. So as far as nighttime goes for me, I normally get off of work pretty late on the days that I'm working. So I try and keep my nighttime practice a little bit more condensed. That way I can be consistent with my practice. So when I get home or when I'm ready to call it an evening, the first thing that I do is try and take a little bit of time for journaling. This is something that's been very difficult for me to be consistent in my practice with. but it's something that I'm working towards being able to better get out my thoughts and things that have happened during the day, even if it's just writing one word down. So if you have a hard time with journaling and keeping a consistent place to release those things, even try starting with just one word a day has really been helpful for me. So I take a little bit of time for journaling and just take the time to reflect and to think about what messages the day brought me, what experiences I had, any challenges or things that came up, and just take that moment of solitude. So one thing that I find is normally once you get that first word or that first sentence or that first thought out, you have a lot more to say than you think that you do if journaling is hard for you. I think sometimes, for me at least, everything becomes so compacted with dealing with all the things that stimulate us throughout a day. It's like we just layer and layer and layer and layer all of this information on top of itself that I get to the point sometimes that it's like I don't even know what I would say because I feel so stimulated and so just inundated with my own thoughts, with my own experiences, with what's going on in the world, especially in these times. Things are a lot to deal with. But taking that first step and writing that first word down allows things to have a passageway to start to flow. So the next thing that I usually do is a daily dedication. This is something that is very sacred and personal to me. So for me, this is a way to feed my hearth in my home. Not just physically my house, but my soul hearth. So I write down my dedication for the day. I drop it into my cauldron up here, light a little candle, and take a moment again for some reflection. So Monster wants to join us for this part of our practice tonight as well. For the next part of my nighttime practice, I like to, every couple days, take some time just to lay in the bathtub, recharge, reset my intentions for the week. I see the bathtub as a human-sized cauldron. And I think that it's important to take that time for yourself to really soak in and sit in your own power, recharge, feel the energy of the water, feel that purification. So I like to light my candle from my hearth flame from downstairs, burn a little incense, really think about purification as far as allowing myself to release the things that I've just journaled about, allowing myself to release any sort of stagnant energy or thought patterns that have been going through my mind. So just taking some time to soak, to sit, to reflect, and really releasing things that do not serve me and clearing my path for the work that I have to do. To help with that, I also have these beautiful salts by a lovely friend of mine that you all know made for me. So Tori crafted these gorgeous power salts for me. and it really helps again with that, just kind of recharging and really taking inventory of where you are, what things are working for you, what things are not working for you in your path at the time, and sitting in your power, being thankful for your power, and understanding that even when things get challenging and difficult, the power is within yourself. So after soaking and cleansing and spending some time in my cauldron bath, the last thing that I like to do for my nightly practice is to take a little self-care time. During this time, I like to really think about rejuvenating myself, focusing on things that I was able to accomplish during that day, ending the day on a note of self-appreciation and focusing on self-worth, I think is very important. For you to start to leave the day behind you. Lessons that you've learned. You're moving on to a new day tomorrow. So going into that well rested and feeling appreciative for the day that you had and the growth that you've made, I think is a very important way to kind of close out your night. So take a little bit of time for either a mask, just some skincare, some time to just kind of love on myself and appreciate the path and appreciate the journey. All right, everyone, so that was my nighttime practice. Taking some time, first thing, just to reflect, to get everything out that happened throughout the day. That reflection, releasing things, that thought patterns, things that happened, not allowing those to dwell, leaving those where they belong in the past. So next thing, just taking some time for cleansing, some time for relaxation, again, a little bit of reflection, and then a little bit of time for self-care and to appreciate yourself and what you were able to accomplish that day. That way you're able to move into the next day with a clear mind and a clear path.
Okay, so whenever I am ready to start winding down and to begin my evening rituals, the first thing that I like to do is to make myself a cup of tea. This kind of just starts that process of ending the day, starts to kind of unwind and kind of purge yourself of all of the impurities from the day, at least in my own mind. I don't know if that makes sense for you or not. So I'm going to go ahead and start my evening cup of tea. And I'll go ahead and show you guys my tea cabinet because it's kind of a problem. Typically at the end of the day, I like to go with the dandelion root just because I really like dandelion root and I think it's a really good way to end the day. But I have a bunch of other options for whenever I'm feeling, you know, like having something a little different. Yeah, that's a problem. So we are going to wait on my tea to brew. So after we've gotten our tea, we're going to go ahead and start our ritual bath. So I like to have incense burning. So I typically like to take the same incense that I burned during my bath and take it into the bedroom for the next part of my nightly ritual, which we'll get into next, obviously. So first things first, for my ritual bath that I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to do a little bit more than what I typically do. It is a Sunday, so I really want to set the intentions for the rest of the week. So what I like to do is, obviously, I usually have a candle burning whenever I go in to take a bath, but incense as well. My cat is like hollering, but he refuses to come in front of the camera. He just wants to stand behind it. Can I help you? Okay. So tonight I'm going to be using some of my power bath salts that I've actually made myself. So I went ahead and actually put these in the bath already, but I'm going to show you how I like to do it. So these are some that I've made myself.
So they do have dried herbs in it that I don't really like to crush up too much because I want them to keep the energies that they have in them. So what I typically do is I actually use a mesh bag, like so. Can you see? Hopefully, yes. I like to use a mesh bag so that way at the end of my bath I don't have a ton of cleanup. Then I can take the herbs that I've actually used that are in the mesh bag and bury and reuse the bag as needed. So I just take a spoon, spin them in the mesh bag, and drop those in the tub. I'm also going to put a little bit of patchouli oil in my bath tonight because why not? It is who I am as a human being. So I'm going to drop a little bit of that in here. And then I am going to be doing a little bit more meditation today because I am trying to set intentions for the rest of the week. So part of that is I'm also going to be using some body scrubs that I've made. So this is really good to help scrub away the day, but also put back whatever you want back into your own skin and back into your mind and your soul. So these are kind of a power blend that I've put together, and you can see them in there. They've got a lot of dried herbs as well. And then with these, I also like to use obviously soap after, but this is scented with patchouli and basil oil. So I'll be using these this evening. A lot of times I also like to use stones that involve whatever my actual goal is. This evening I am just going to be using a coin that I like to use when I meditate. So I'm going to be bringing that in the bath with me, but I've also used obsidian. Whatever my goal is for that bath, I want to bring that energy in with an actual physical thing. Garnet as well as emerald. So just whatever your goal is, you can take that in the bath with you as well. So I'm going to go ahead, got my bath going. I'm going to go ahead and get in here, scrub away the last week, start the week fresh, and I will be right back with you. So as the last little part of my actual cleansing part of my nighttime ritual, I like to cleanse my face, really take the time to remove the stresses of the day. This may sound a little backwards, and it may be backwards, I'm not sure. I think everyone does it differently. For me, I take my bath super, super hot, and when I cleanse my face before I take a bath, then I sweat and I feel unclean and I feel like my face needs to be cleaned again. So instead, I change the way I did it and take a bath first and then really spend the time to wash my face, really basically finish that process of removing the stresses from the day and whatever I went through that day and really wipe that slate clean so that way I can start the next day fresh. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so now
we are gonna go in the bedroom for my favorite part of my nightly routine. So at this point of the night, we've now reached my favorite part of my actual night routine. So this is something that I've really been trying to be consistent about for months and months now. And I finally got to the point where it is like a part of my everyday practice. So at this point, we're about an hour before I actually want to go to sleep. I like to kind of cut off screens. I have trouble sleeping sometimes, and I found that if I don't have any screen time about an hour before I go to bed, then I have a better night's sleep. So this is the time of night, you know, after I've cleansed the day away, this is the time when I really focus on self-reflection. I really focus on journaling and self-work before I actually turn in for the night. So there's a few different things that I do. So I have all my tools right here by my bed. So I didn't shut the door for a reason. I figured usually my cats like to come in here around this time, and I just let them. So there's a few different things that I do at this time of night. So I've been working with a tarot deck. Tarot is not something that I have really worked with a lot. The journey that I'm on with my current tarot deck is one that's new for me in terms of tarot. I've never really connected with the tarot deck. I've always kind of wanted to do tarot, but it's never been something that I've been particularly drawn to until I came in contact with this deck. So growing those skills is something that I focus on every night. So every evening I do a nightly card pull and basically journal around what that card means to me, how I feel like it matters to my everyday life right now. Then I do journaling around my everyday life, and then I do a little bit of reading before I meditate and close the night out. Would you like to come up here? So this has been something that I've actually been trying for a long time to make a part of my everyday practice. It's something that I finally have got part of my everyday practice. But generally the way I do my card pull is because this is a deck that I'm like basically trying to grow my skills as someone who works with tarot, as well as someone who's unfamiliar with the deck in general. I do a card pull every evening. The way that I do it is I pull the card. If I'm familiar with the card, then I'll pull again until I pull a card that I'm not familiar with. And then do a journaling exercise around that card itself. If I pull the card and I don't journal about it, I note what I pulled because I consider it being a reading at that point. Any card that I pull I consider a reading because I meditate before I actually pull them. But the whole exercise is around learning the cards slowly and it not being, and being, for me, I wanted it to be something very natural and fluid. You're being a really sweet boy. You gonna help me?
Black moon above, stars overhead. Don't you dare guide me back to my bed. The river is frozen, the pollen path's bare. Don't wait for me, darling, there's thorns in my hair. Falconries cross, many moons day. Don't you dare silence the song in my head. The flowers are broken, the fallen paths bare. Don't speak to me, darling, till blood lays his hair. How long, how long, how long was the earth there? How long can we say we belong here? When will we stop this weight of his words? The stars are all woken, the pollen pats there. So sing with me, darling, let down your lungs.
I also take the tarot cards that I've pulled. I seem to have misplaced one. It'll show up, they always do. But I like to take the cards that I've pulled and lay them out on my nightstand and sleep next to them so that I can basically use them in my dream work. So I do use a couple different anointing oils as well as tinctures to help aid in that. So typically at this point, I would use some of those, see what cats are going to decide to stay in the bed with me. I've got 3 right now. I don't know how many you can actually see. I also use a lavender spritz on my pillows at night to help aid in sleep. And I'm going to do that now, and I will see you guys later. Say good night. Good night.
So these like daily practices that we do are just simple ways that you can not only like infuse your practice into your daily life, but take the time to stop and slow down and recognize the things that you already do that are inherently witchy. You know, what are things that are magical that we don't take the time to stop and see how much magic is in our rituals and the things that we do on a daily basis, I think is important, you know, taking inventory of not just going through the motions, but realizing the power and the magic in the mundane. So
Absolutely. And I think it's funny too, because there's so many things that I do every day, and I've done them for so long, for years and years, that I forget that it is a part of my witchy every day, because it's just something I've done for years and years and years. So I think it was fun putting this episode together to be able to like sit down and think like critically, what do I do every day? Like, how am I implementing my beliefs and my witchiness into just my daily practice? Yeah, my daily rituals. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm a Taurus, and I love rituals. I love that.
You like a schedule. You like a good schedule.
I like a good schedule. I like a good planner.
Yeah. It is funny though, because I think a lot of times the things that we think are like the big witchy things are like planning for a huge Sabbath or like creating some new giant spell work or something that we're doing. But I think some of the witchiest things we do are those daily practices, are those consistent things, you know, the consistent things to keep you connected.
Right. That's what you do every single day. That's how you stay connected and plugged into your spirituality every single day. So I think this is a really fun episode to like share with everybody. And I'd also say like, please share like down below what your daily practice looks like. What are your daily witchy rituals? What do you do in the morning to get yourself ready for the day? What do you do at night to wind down? Please let us know, because I'm all about adding new things to my routine.
Yeah, and I challenge everybody too to think about what are the things you do every day that you don't realize are those things. You know, like take some time to sit with, like journal and sit down and think about what are things that I just do out of habit, you know, and what is the power and the magic and rediscovering that behind them. So
absolutely.
Love it.
I am so excited.
Tell us all your things.
Tell us what you do. Tell us what you do. In this episode, we're also featuring music from Alana Lowe, who is a viewer, reached out to us on Instagram. We fell in love with her music. So we did want to share that with you guys as well. We've included her information in the description down below as well if you'd like to check it out. Her album is on Spotify. It's called Loam, L-O-A-M. So thank you so much, Alana, for reaching out to us, because I cannot even tell you, like, this is one of the things that Alyssa and I talked about, you know, when we first started this, is wanting to be able to build a community of people and, you know, meet people that we have commonalities with, and building this community from the ground up. So having people reach out to us like Alana and sharing what she's put so much of her strength and her spirituality into was a really powerful experience for us. So we definitely appreciate it. Guys, don't forget, like and subscribe.
And hit that little bell to receive notifications
whenever we post a new video. It's been a pleasure seeing you guys today and being able to share some of Alyssa and I's everyday into your everyday. Don't forget, leave a comment below to join the conversation about this, and we will see you in our next episode.
Cheers to your daily practice.
Cheers to daily practice.
Go.
Bye.
Bye.